Slovakia's election victor vows no more military aid to Ukraine, opting for more humanitarian support and pushing for peace talks. Andrea Santos has the details.
Robert Fico, the leader of Slovakia's winning party, Slovak Social Democracy, has announced that they won't support sending more military aid to Ukraine. In the recent parliamentary elections, SMRSD secured first place with around 23% of the vote. Fico stated that Slovakia and its people have bigger problems than Ukraine. He emphasized that if his party formed a government, they would be willing to help Ukraine in a humanitarian way and support reconstruction efforts. Slovakia, an EU and NATO member, has already provided military equipment to Ukraine, including armored personnel carriers and fighter jets. Fico called for peace negotiations to end the conflict between Moscow and Kiev, stating that further violence benefits no one. The formation of a coalition government will be necessary in Slovakia, as no party won a majority. The pro-European HLAS Voice Party, which secured the third position with 14.7%, has not ruled out a possible alliance with SMRSD. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán, another EU and NATO member who refuses to provide military aid to Ukraine, congratulated Fico on his election victory, expressing his willingness to work together. Concerns have arisen in the U.S. over Fico's election win. Russian foreign intelligence claims that the United States had sought to keep the previous Slovakian government in power. Slovakian President Zuzana Kaputova is expected to ask Fico to form a new government soon. Reporting, this is Andrea Santos, SMNI News.
North Korea criticized the nuclear watchdog of the UN after it criticized Pyongyang's nuclear development. Jayne Codnita reports.
Last week, the International Atomic Energy Agency, or IAEA, member states at the 67th General Conference in Vienna, Austria, adopted a resolution urging North Korea to suspend its nuclear weapons program and abide by its obligations under UN Security Council resolutions. But this was met by a strong rejection from Pyongyang and called IAEA a reptile organization that serves the U.S. The unnamed spokesman also accused IAEA Chief Rafael Grossi of taking the lead in creating the atmosphere of pressurizing North Korea by spreading a false story about an imminent nuclear test. To recall, in 2022, Grossi warned that North Korea could resume its nuclear testing for the first time since 2017. It can be noted that the IAEA has had zero access to North Korea since it expelled its inspectors in 2009. Last week, North Korea made nuclear weapons status a part of its constitution. This further increases the tensions that have already been escalating in the North Korean peninsula and the whole Asia-Pacific region. North Korea's Kim Jong-un held a two-day meeting wherein he said that Pyongyang's nuclear force-building policy has been made permanent as a basic law of the North Korean state. Kim hailed the constitutional change as a historic event that provided a powerful political lever for remarkably strengthening the national defense capabilities. He also urged North Korean officials to further promote solidarity with the nations standing against the U.S. and the West's strategy for hegemony, and denounced the trilateral cooperation between U.S., South Korea, and Japan as the Asian version of NATO. The move came amid North Korea's continuous weapons tests. This year, Kim has promised to accelerate the production of nuclear weapons to deter what he described as U.S. provocations. North Korea's constitutional change also comes after Kim came back from Russia to meet President Vladimir Putin and agreed to boost military cooperation. On Tuesday, North Korea's envoy, Kim Song, addressed the UN General Assembly wherein he blamed South Korea and the United States for creating the situation in which North Korea is urgently required to further accelerate the buildup of their self-defense capabilities.
Owing to the reckless and continued hysteria of nuclear showdown on the part of the United States and its foreign forces, the year 2023 has been recorded as an extremely dangerous year, that the military security situation in and around the Korean peninsula was driven closer to the brink of a nuclear war. From the beginning of the year, the United States and the Republic of Korea made hysterical remarks of confrontation, such as end of the regime and occupation of Pyongyang, in flagrant violation of the principles and purposes of the United Nations Charter. They staged largest-scale joint military exercises of clearly aggressive nature, one after another, on our doorstep, including the Freedom Shield, Sangyong Combined Joint Fire Annihilation Drill, and Ulji Freedom Shield. After fabricating the so-called Nuclear Consultative Group in April, committed to the planning, operation, and execution of a preemptive nuclear strike against the DPRK, the United States is now moving on to the practical stage of realizing its sinister intention to provoke a nuclear war by frequently dispatching strategic nuclear submarines and strategic nuclear bombers carrying nuclear weapons in and around the Korean Peninsula for the first time in decades.
The move also comes a day after North Korea released U.S. soldier Travis King, who had been flown back to America recently. This happened 2 months after he sprinted across the heavily fortified border into the north, claiming he ran there because of racial discrimination and inhumane treatment. Reporting, this has been Jayne Codnita, SMNI News.